Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Days of Our Lives looks to be ending the year with more exits, but 2024 may bring a big return plus the good and the bad of 2023. The holidays don't stop Days of Our Lives, and as the show careened from Christmas to New Year's Eve, we got everything from therapy revelations to drug overdoses, a kidnapping that may have kicked off a major storyline, and, of course, some good old-fashioned blackmail. That's so Salem. Congrats to the big New Year's Eve party for actually looking like a party. It wasn't just 5 people standing around chatting. Between the decorations and the extras, it actually felt vibrant. It wasn't quite the grand parties of old at Julie's or the town square, but it wasn't too shabby. I'm always kind of amazed at how well behaved everyone is at these things, though, just quietly sipping champagne here and there and no one overindulging. Except Holly with her uppers. Teen drug stories aren't exactly adventurous new territory, but at least instead of going the Saved by the Bell caffeine pill route we got tainted drugs. Yes, I was just looking for an excuse to put that clip in below. I'd like to say Holly definitely doesn't die, but while I'm pretty sure she'll pull through, next week's spoilers aren't looking great. But my God, that would just be viciously cruel to take Nicole's other child away from her too. Holly, get your act together. Your mom does not need this right now. Outside of that tragedy, the year ended not really with new couples kissing, but old ones reuniting. There was Xander and Sarah, Chanel and Johnny, and even Stephanie and Everett. They're new to us, but not each other. About the only new pair locking lips was Alex and Teresa and their DOA. I'm sure there's a metaphor in there somewhere about old storylines coming back over and over again while new ones flare out and die or something, but I'll leave that to you to decide. But since we're on the topic of couples, I figured I'd go through some of my favorites and least favorites of this past year. Stephanie and Chad were a mixed bag. I enjoyed them for their sweetness in the beginning, but maybe I was just overly generous after her fling with Alex, but then got bored over time. Like, I'm pretty sure almost everyone else watching, I'm not mourning their breakup. And I'm already finding her and Everett a whole lot more interesting. Wendy and Tripp never took off, and it's looking like Wendy's about to be sent away. She wants to head off to China, and from next week's spoilers, I think Tripp may end up sending her off alone as he stays behind to help his mom out. And that's sad. Not because I loved her and Tripp together, I didn't, but because she started off as such a strong character, firing up Tripp and Joey into a triangle we never got, then teaming up with Johnny to play world-trotting private eyes and dig up dirt on their respective family members. Somewhere along the way she got watered down, but that beautiful scene with Melinda this week showed us how great things could be if she just got consistent writing to make us love her. But if she is gone, she's just the latest in a string of exits this year. Dimitri, Gabby, Lee, Sean, Belle, Khloe, Philip and Talia came and went, Megan, Jack and Jennifer, Allie, Sunny. It's felt like a lot. Stefan and Gabby should have been better once they finally reunited, but they were far too obsessed with doing anything to get Demara that we hardly got to enjoy them. I'm hoping that once Gabby's proved innocent and released from prison, yes, I'm all but convinced she'll be recast, the couple gets a reset and hopefully gets some of their magic back. Unless the fake Stefan and Ava relationship turns into a real one. I think I'd take that over Ava and Harris, and that would be the perfect time to bring a recast Gabby back from prison, gunning for Ava. Oh, and Sloan and Eric? When it was just them having fun and Eric letting his hair down a little, I could get behind it. Now, though, hard pass. On the other hand, I love EJ and Nicole together, especially seeing how patient and loving he's been with her. But beyond that is the fact that he can still let his darker side air and Nicole mostly just rolls with it. Heck, at one point he was trying to have Xander and Ava rubbed out and Nicole's response wasn't horror so much as an eye roll. Really? Right when we're about to have a baby? Priorities, EJ. But they're already over. Nicole just admitted as much to Marlena this week when she said she never stopped wanting Eric more than EJ, and that's especially prescient since her baby is Eric's after all. Khloe and Xander was another pairing that surprised me with how much I liked it. They moved bizarrely fast and were all in on everything from living to working to just being together, but they still felt mature and fun together and were a welcome break from the Gwen/Xander/Sarah merry-go-round. But alas, they couldn't last. Xander is about to get everything he ever wanted: Sarah's love, a family with their baby, a family as Victor's heir and power and money at Titan. There was nowhere in that for Khloe. Speaking of which, how about the twists? Xander being Victor's son instead of Alex was a decent one, but we all saw it coming. Or maybe we just all wanted it to be true instead of putting Alex in such a prominent position in the family. Sloane stealing Nicole's baby shouldn't be a good twist. Again, we all saw it coming and it's been done before. But that's also why I like it. Because Nicole knew exactly what happened but was convinced by everyone around her that she was just out of her mind with grief. Her "I told you so" when she gets her baby back is going to be epic. The twist that Everett is also Jada's husband wasn't a surprise either. The show gave us that before we even met him. But finding out he had different names and learning about his supposed coma, yes, supposed, I'm not sure I believe it anymore, is giving us story threads I really hope will pay off and tie into the canvas more at large. Abe's memory loss wasn't a huge shock, but it's still kind of impressive that that wasn't tied up neatly in a few weeks. But Paulina taking over as mayor, I did not see that coming. I guess Salem voters really don't care. Why bother with elections if you can just step aside and appoint someone else in your job? Let's just get this one out of the way. Beau and Hope's return was not what fans wanted. Them not sticking around would be one thing if the storyline culminated in a grand wedding and they sailed off into the sunset. But instead we got Beau not really being Beau until the last few seconds before he was shot. The two then sailed off into a hospital as he lapsed into a coma after they spent practically the entire storyline apart. Other than seeing the actors on the screen again, I don't think there was a single thing in that tale that made the fans happy. Victor's death was handled beautifully with a number of tribute episodes and flashbacks and some truly heart-wrenching performances. Bravo to Wally Kurth and Suzanne Rogers especially. It would have been lovely to have had a great funeral packed full of people at a church, but budget restrictions just don't allow for that anymore, and what we did get had everything from tears to a nail-biting birth. And the added bonus that Xander was Victor's son all along, gave fans of his what they've long wanted and cemented him as a family member. Though even Paul Telfer himself admits that folks seem to have way too much of a forgiving soft spot for Xander. Another big story was Days of Our Lives ousting Albert Alar after all the accusations. And that I'll put in the win category for the year. Whether you love all the stories or not, the cast gives it their all to give us the show day after day. They didn't need or remotely deserve the added stress that it sounds like they'd been enduring for years under his reign. It wouldn't be Salem without a never-ending parade of bad guys, and this past year was no exception. First off, I'm surprised that I'm ending the year with Constantine going from infuriating to intriguing. Don't get me wrong, I still want him out of here. My initial feeling that he'd be a good villain has melted away under his slimy, sycophantic ability to have an excuse for everything, even in the face of common sense. He needs to go, and I'm glad more and more folks have stopped buying his BS. But Constantine recognizing John is intriguing. If he was around Victor in the past and has had underhanded dealings, he may have run into the pawn. As far as this year's villains, though, I'd put him squarely in the middle. I say this knowing that everyone, even the folks here at Soaps.com, have differing feelings about characters. But Megan and Dimitri were two of the better ones for me, and I mean the scheming Megan who came to Salem, not the one obsessed with a magical youth serum on her secret island lair. But with Dimitri gone now, it feels like Leo's getting back to his worst, skeeziest impulses. Actually, blackmailing Sloane doesn't feel terrible. But going after Johnny just felt icky. Has he moved past Dimitri that fast? Nurse Whitley would be towards the bottom because of how over-the-top campy she was. But she wasn't entirely irredeemable as a villain because while her doing all this because of a faulty heater killing her husband was, well, out of left field, I did, actually, feel for Whitley. She was such a pitiable figure at the end there when it became clear she had a break for reality after blaming herself for her husband's death and their precious kitties and getting pushed over the edge by Mar-Devil. At the absolute bottom of the villain list, though, would be Colin. I hated that creep and I feel like he was a missed opportunity to ground Sloane more as a character and with a family. Instead, the show seems to have used Eric to ground her by making her obsessed with him and stripping her of the elements of her character that made her stand out from the crowd. Another villain I didn't like? Nick. I did enjoy that he got a chance to at least slightly redeem himself, but he was such a troubled character, it felt cruel to make him evil in the afterlife as he worked for the devil. At the same time, while I wasn't looking to ever meet Satan again, Bill Hayes did a fantastic job playing him as Marlena fought for their souls. But if I had one wish for 2024, it would be that this is finally the year that the devil, the afterlife and all of that good/evil supernatural stuff is left in the past. What are your thoughts?